How's it going, everybody? This is Martin Stokes here,
And this is Dean Scurry.
and I am a traveller.
And I'm a countryman.
Welcome to A Traveller
And a countryman
podcast. Welcome back. This is episode 4 of our podcast.
So what are we going to chat about today?
We're talking about entrepreneurs.
Why are we talking about entrepreneurs?
I don't know, it's something about how people take chances on certain things, and in the business-wise, and then you have people who won't take chances if they think there's nothing in it for them.
So,
if that makes any sense.
It does indeed. Here's an example of an entrepreneur. Me and you recording a podcast and taking a chance on it.
Yes.
Because this could either be the best podcast in the world
Yes.
or not.
Well, let's hope yes.
And the way that we make it, the way that we're entrepreneurs is that we're taking a risk and we're putting our name on something that we have to work at, that we have to take a chance on, that we have to take a risk at, that we have to put out there. So my experience in the travelling community is, from working with young lads, is I'd say to them, just want to come off and do this? And their very first thing they'd say is, what?
What's in it for me, is it?
What's in it for me? Or is there any money in it? Or do I get paid for it?
Get paid? Yeah. And is that just the travelling lads?
From my experience, it's just the travelling lads.
So you don't get that from the set lads, do you not?
Not really, no. Not the very first thing they say.
So what would be the first thing a little set lad would say?
They'd say, who else is going? What's it like? What do I have to do? Do I have to get up early?
Normal questions, basically.
Normal kind of questions.
And would the little travel lads not ask them kind of questions?
They'd ask me that after. They'd only have a conversation with me if I said, yes, there's money in it.
And what do you think of that?
Well, I think that, personally what I think, and this is what I explained back to the lads, you're missing out on loads of opportunities if you don't take a risk.
Yes.
If you don't put yourself forward into something. Like, I'd go up and say, look, we're doing a music video or something like that. And they'd say straight away, is there money in it? And not all the time, not all the projects that I do, there's money in it straight away.
Yeah, so they feel like they don't want to do nothing for nothing kind of thing.
Yeah, they don't want to do nothing for nothing, but what they don't realise is there's benefits to doing things and then being paid down the line. Like, there's a thing in say, entrepreneurship or business called sweat equity. It means you sweat at the start and then you reap the rewards down the line. You know what I mean?
But as young lads, say whatever, if they're not in it for the long haul, then obviously they're not thinking that way. Maybe they're probably saying, look, I'm going to get paid for what I'm doing now, and that's how it is.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point, because maybe they don't have long-term thinking. Maybe their thinking is today.
Yes, that's right.
And some of that comes from poverty, from living in poverty. Because I've noticed that in my life, where does entrepreneurship come into working class people's lives then, or traveller people's lives?
Don't forget, not every entrepreneur starts off with no money.
No, but
some of them actually put money into something. If they're starting off something, it doesn't mean there's no money going into it.
No. But initially, unless you've got a silver spoon up your arse, you're at the inheriting loads of money, which most working class people wouldn't have. They're starting off from scratch.
Right, yeah.
Or unless they took a business off their father or mother or something like that. You know what I mean? Generally, they're starting off from scratch.
Yeah, that's right. Most entrepreneurs.
Well, most entrepreneurs, unless they were given a silver spoon.
Does that mean that every entrepreneur is broke?
Most of the entrepreneurs that I know would be mainly broke most of the time until something that they're doing starts to make money. And that's built into what they do.
And do you know any entrepreneurs that have made money and business has worked out for them?
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. But most of the time, most of what they do doesn't make money.
So, for instance, like, just say, back to the little travel lads again, right? And if the travel lads did take a chance that at 15 and 16 years old, how long would they be actually expected to be work, like, say, literally work free before they realise something is happening here? Look, we're going to start earning money now.
Well, the main objective of, say, doing entrepreneurial stuff is not to make money.
It's not to make money?
No.
So what's it to do?
Well, what do you think it's for?
If it's anything to do with business, it's obviously trying to make money.
Not necessarily, no.
If you're coming up with an idea, right, and you either put money into it or don't put money into it, and you wanted, let's say, to work basically and progress, and if there's no money involved in it, where is the progression?
So the progression is in the learning, is in the knowledge, is in the understanding how different systems and games and jobs work.
So basically, it literally turns into an education then, does it?
It is an education, yeah. So most of what entrepreneurs are doing, they'll try something. If it succeeds, it succeeds. But if it fails,
They'll learn something off
that's
it.
where they learn. And that's the main reason they do what they do, is
Yeah.
to fail and learn, fail and learn, fail and learn.
Yeah, that's very good. And tell me something, do you know for someone that's trying to start off a business, just say, whether it be big or small, and we call them again entrepreneurs, and say they need help starting off this business, if it takes money to actually start off something, is there companies out there that would be involved, like, and maybe reach out and sort of help them to get started and get up and running, and including with advice also, like,
Yeah, and so that goes
sort
from
of show them the ropes kind of thing.
from all the way from your local job centre or something like that, all the way up to billionaire angel investors.
Yeah.
So they have the whole thing.
I seen some sort of a documentary there. It's a long time ago, where there could be 4 or 5 people like sitting at a table basically, and they call certain people in there to see what kind of ideas they would have, business ideas.
Yeah.
Now the people that would have the ideas generally wouldn't have, say, the money to sort of start it off or get it up and running. So it was slightly like an interview, and then but the people that would be sitting at the tables, they'd be literally millionaires basically.
Millionaires, billionaires. I think
Yes.
I'm talking about the Dragon's Den.
I'm not sure. It probably was.
That's what it's called, the Dragon's Den. So you have 4 or 5 dragons sitting on their seats
right.
in front of these people who have started up a business, and they're saying, look, I'm 6 months or a year or 2 years in
Yeah,
business.
they explain the story kind of thing. Yes, and then if we call them the judges. If the judges like them, then if they take a liking or they think that this business could take a lift, they sort of, right, we call you one side. Yeah, we're going to invest into your ideas.
Yeah, or if they like the person, they'll say, listen, that idea isn't the best at the moment, but you're amazing.
So we can give you another idea, then come up with another one.
So do you have anything else? Is there other ideas? So generally, people invest in people
Right.
rather than generally just ideas, because the ideas are 10 a penny. It's the people and their specific skills and way of thinking that they have. Good ones of them are rare, especially good ones of them who aren't afraid to make mistakes.
Right. So basically, that's willing to take chances again, chance after chance.
Chance after chance, because that's what...
Until they sort of succeed then.
Exactly, because that's where, like, the whole, say, stock market, it's all about risk, taking chances,
Yes.
and failing over and over again.
Yes.
Failing small little bits over and over again
Yes.
until you make big gains.
Have you ever got into anything like that, say, where you'd sort of like to get into a business or maybe start something off and just be pushed back from it for certain reasons, like?
Yeah, I've done loads of bits. Like, I'd like the experience of taking a chance. You know what I mean?
But not necessarily for the money, no.
Not necessarily for the money, most of the time for the experience of it, and what do I learn and who do I meet and the situations I get into and the pressure that it causes inside you. Because I think that, you know, the old saying, pressure makes diamonds.
Yes.
I think if you put yourself in pressure situations sometimes,
Yes.
you can grow from it.
You're trying to deal with it in that sort of a way, yes. But yeah, it's very interesting though, isn't it, all the same?
So I've done stuff over the years, set up little businesses, you know, worked with me brother, worked with different fellas, set up small little companies, and just chancing my arm, taking a chance.
Just to see if it could work out, basically.
And what can I learn from this?
Yeah.
Is there something I can get into that I
the
can just
learning
learn?
experience can be great. There's no doubt about that. Because I think once you learn whatever business it might be, I think once you learn something at all, it can stay with you forever. Then.
Yeah. Now you can't eat wisdom.
No, I understand that you can't. You have to. What do you call it?
So you kind of have to have your basics sorted out.
Yes.
What are your basics? So what I tried to do was, if I'm taking a chance on something, I live what's called like a lean existence. Very, very simple. Just keep everything really simple. No big expenses. Yeah, as in I don't mind taking risks, failing, learning, trying different things, having 3 or 4 different things going at once.
Yes.
But all the time I have my basics sorted out.
Yeah. I was saying there earlier on about sometimes it's not just about starting off something, as you say, not for to necessarily earn money, but what about the people that put money into stuff and it doesn't work out?
Yeah, so they would be taking a risk as well. They're entrepreneurs as well, but they're
But
just
would they
playing
be
a different
already
game.
classed as business people? Yes.
Yeah. But they'd also be like investors. That's what investors do.
Yeah.
That's basically, as I said, what the stock exchange is. You're investing money in something that may or may not work.
Yes.
And if it does work, the
Happy days.
risk has a reward.
Yes.
So, and that's the way that game is. Sometimes the higher the risk, the higher the reward. So let's say people who invested in, like give an example, podcasts, right? For example. So podcasts is now an industry.
Yes.
10, 15 years ago.
It's a big thing now though, isn't it?
It's the biggest thing.
But it's actually interesting though. Like certain topics that people talk about. It's great to know, how would you say, talk about even lifestyles or as we talked earlier on about, say, cultures and stuff like that. So it's educating people in a different sense, isn't it?
Absolutely. There's nothing really you can't talk about.
Yes.
There's no voices really you can't hear.
Right.
So years ago, let's say when you were growing up, really the only voice that was on radio or TV was, in this country, was like middle class Irish people.
That's right. Absolutely.
You know what I mean? If you were watching, as my man and dad called, the Air News at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, that's right.
It was like middle class white Irish people.
Yeah.
But now with podcasts,
so the marginalised never got a chance to speak, basically.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So the people who owned the companies weren't working class people.
Right.
The people who owned the radio stations and the TV stations and the TV networks weren't working class people. And now, fast forward 30, 40 years, there's a traveller and a countryman
having their own say what they want to talk about.
Making their own podcast, which potentially, if people invest in it, it could turn into a business.
Yeah, well, let's hope for that, huh?
Well, all we can do is take a risk.
Yes.
Put our name on it. Try and do quality stuff. Try and do stuff where not only we find this interesting, but other people find interesting. The reason I'm doing this is because I want to have a bit of crack. I want to have a bit of fun. I like chatting to you. I find you very interesting.
Yeah. And you have an interest in travellers also.
Yeah, but I find you interesting.
As a traveller or an individual?
Just as a man.
Yeah.
I just find you really interesting. I think
you must be the only person on the planet that finds me interesting, Dean.
I don't know. I don't know about that. Like
maybe you're just as stupid as I am, so that's it.
Maybe we are just two ticks talking into microphones here and nobody listening, but I don't think so. I think what we have to say and what we can explore between each other is really, really interesting.
Yeah, well, that's good to know.
And I think that from my observation this is episode 4. You, as a fella who's never done a podcast, you're learning real quick. You're growing. How you see this podcast is changing. So that's what I was saying about being an entrepreneur. You're learning.
Yes. Well, I think anyway, for doing something for the first time anyway, such as this, obviously you're not going to know it all like straight off and jump in there and...
So how is that for you as a traveller, man? Because sometimes I got the sense that traveller people mightn't get into something because it's too risky, or they might come across looking like a fool if they're not experts at it straight away.
No, it is a case, yeah. I have to be honest about. As a traveller man, yes, I would sort of, I'm not saying I'm going to get everything right, but I would sort of have to be a little bit careful about what I talk about. Because let's say I would like to be offending other travellers. I know a lot of travellers.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be saying things and coming across to them as if something is going to particular travellers or particular names or stuff like that. So I want to keep it as smooth as possible, to be honest about.
So that's the offending part. You don't want to say stuff that might offend people, and I understand that.
That's one side of it, but the other side about it is I don't want to say things either that, let's say, being on this podcast this minute, right? There's probably maybe 100 people out there who's thinking, look, what's wrong with this guy? Is he like, because it's strange for travellers to do podcasts for starters, right?
Yeah.
What's wrong with it? They could be thinking all sorts of things. Is he making an idiot of himself, which maybe I probably can do at times, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's people's way of thinking. If they want to think that way, that's fine. I'm only here, as you said, for a bit of crack, chat, and a laugh. If we can get a laugh over it as well, I mean, it's good.
But don't sell yourself short. I think you're here for more than that. I think potentially you're here to learn, to grow, to meet people, to have conversations you wouldn't have normally.
That would be interesting, without a doubt. Yes, absolutely, yeah.
And I'm going to say the dirty word, maybe to make money at some point.
If I could make money out of it, sure, of course I wouldn't say no, would I?
I think if you could make money out of this, we've cracked part of the code that's holding not only travelling people but other marginalised people back.
Maybe you might say it's probably a silly thing to say also. It might give them the freedom of speech kind of thing.
There you go.
Allow them to.
Apparently, we have the freedom of speech, but we don't because we don't own the podcasts.
We don't use it.
And maybe we haven't used it. It's the same reason we were talking before that travellers have never recorded their voice, or not many of them have recorded their voice.
I think sometimes, being honest about it, and I'm not saying this doesn't come from the settled community either. I think sometimes travellers are just too embarrassed to speak out. Now, as I said, I'm sitting here, doing a podcast, traveller man and a countryman, right, here in the studio. But the thing about it is, I'm talking out now, so I sound like I'm confident and I'm not as shy to talk. But that doesn't mean every person that's going to listen to this is going to agree with what I'm saying. There's people probably agree that listen to this and say, look, what's going on with him? Is he an idiot or something? I thought he was smarter than that, or I thought this, or I thought that. Now, you might get some people to say, fair enough, look, he's only a bit of cracker and have a chat. And maybe it will progress, I don't know.
I get the sense that you would focus on the people who would be saying, he's an Elija.
No, I'm not exactly focusing on that. And on the other hand, I can't stop people from talking anyway, one way or another. And it's probably irrelevant to me because I don't really care what people think in a sense where, like, this is my business, basically, you know what I mean?
And that's what I'm saying about the entrepreneur.
I can't change people's way of thinking, put it that way. As much as you'd probably like to at times, you know what I mean? That's really down to themselves, being honest about it. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not like pointing fingers or bad mouthing anybody either, like, you know. But I think it comes in all walks of life. No matter where we come from, no matter who we are, I think there's always that negative side of life. And the negative side of life actually obviously comes from people themselves. Way of thinking or maybe way of speaking or whatever, like, you know.
So let's say we had
sometimes people speak freely, but it mightn't always be it mightn't always be a positive announcement.
Absolutely, yeah. And part of the freedom of speech is that it doesn't always have to be positive.
No, that's right. I understand that. I'm going back to the same thing again, basically about being a traveller, and a countryman doing a podcast. Just people probably just laugh it off, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what I was explaining to you there was that there is a lot of negative people who like to speak bad. Simple as.
Yeah, and also there's a lot of people who like to go, well done, lads. Absolutely.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah,
keep that going.
No, you have the good, the bad, and then you have you, Dean. Sorry again. What was that?
Very handsome. But I think it's none of our business whether or not somebody likes us or doesn't like us.
That's right. I know that's the point I was trying to make
that.
None of
our it shouldn't be really our focus. What we should focus on is what we're doing, what we want to get out of this.
That's right.
What we think we can learn, what we think we might be able to add to, for example, Irish society by having conversations.
Let's put it this way. People have conversations all over the world. And just because it's not recorded doesn't mean we don't make fools of ourselves.
Yeah.
There's times you can have conversations. It could be anywhere. It could be in a pub, or it could be at home, or it could be out chatting to lads, or it could be another person's where you go for a visit or whatever. It doesn't make the conversation any better or any worse, because that doesn't mean we're going to have a straightforward conversation and every little word we say is going to be perfect. Without a doubt, I don't think there's anybody out there that can have conversations like that unless you're sitting and you're just listening and you get the odd word in there and you have loads of time to think about what words you want to say and what you don't want to say. So you try to make yourself look less stupid as possible, I suppose, in that sense.
Yeah. Or if you're reading it off a script.
Well, yes, but we're not doing that now, so...
So one of the things...
We are inclined to make fools of ourselves.
Yeah, and that's part of the game. That's part of the game.
I'm okay with that.
We'll say random stuff. We'll say stuff that we mightn't fully have thought out or discussed with each other, or we might say stuff that offends people. We might use words that people go, oh, hold on a minute, why are you using the word countryman? Why aren't you saying country person?
The countryman comes in because that's how I see you as a countryman.
But I'm just using that as an example. There's people can take offence in
literally anything,
in
basically.
anything. So it's none of our business. Let them take their offence.
What we're saying here is we can't keep everybody happy. Is that it?
No, I think the only people we need to keep happy in this is the traveller and the countryman.
Yes. And also, the other thing is we can't stop people from talking no matter what we say or do.
No, we can't stop people from coming up to us every day on the street and going, listen, lads, see that thing you are doing there, that little podcast? That's the best thing I've ever heard in my life. Keep it going. And voice, and just the same as that, if another person came up and goes, see that thing that you are doing there? That's the biggest load of rubbish I've ever heard. And what are you doing?
Yeah,
like?
but they're entitled to voice their opinions. Like, there should be no offence taken from that if someone did approach and say, look at Howlett, that's a lot of rubbish you're talking up there. Fine, that's okay. We won't take offence to that, right?
I don't know if you could take a slagging, like.
I can take a slagging, yeah. I'm well used to getting slagged, believe me. I'm well used to getting offended, insulted, and everything, you name it. I let it go over my head 9 times out of 10.
It's like
that's not bad counting, is it?
It's like water off a duck's back, is it?
That's what they say, yeah. Water off the duck's back.
So that's going back to entrepreneur.
If you give heed to everything that people say about you every day, you'll be fighting, wouldn't you?
So that's the thing about an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur does stuff, and if it doesn't work, it's water off a duck's back.
Yes, absolutely.
It's like Ronnie O'Sullivan taking a shot in the snooker. Sure, if he misses it, you always take the next shot.
You come back again, yeah, that's right.
And all you need to do is turn up and take your shot, and eventually you'll get paid for it.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. But anyway, for the time being, we're having a chat and we're just, as a fella said, tagging along, yeah?
Yeah, and spitball,
we'll do our
and
best.
Just having the crack.
Yeah.
Finding out each other's, likes and dislikes, the things that we understand, we don't understand, exploring stuff, helping people, one, listen to my accent on a podcast, because there's not many people.
And two,
with a big thick Dublin accent
I was going to say, two, try to understand my accent.
I think you speak relatively clearly.
Do you think so, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. You said before about people not wanting to hear their voices, yeah? It actually is strange when you hear your voice sort of played back to you, yeah.
When you've heard like episodes 1, 2 and 3.
Yeah, but everybody probably feels the same way, do they? Well, maybe a lot of people anyway.
Well, one of the reasons is when you hear your voice, you're hearing it from inside your head.
Yes.
Naturally.
Yes.
But when it's played back to it, you're hearing it from a speaker.
Yeah,
which is outside your head.
Obviously different sound.
And it's just different sound.
So basically at that stage you're talking to yourself.
Exactly, yeah. I think there's a lot to be gained. For example, people in the travelling community taking a risk in stuff, putting their name on stuff that mightn't be paid that day or that week or that year.
Yes.
And I think that, like, you were taking a risk on this. You own this podcast now.
Yes.
So it's like 50 years ago where you would have owned a radio station or owned a newspaper.
Yes.
You're the boss here.
It's very interesting though, isn't it?
Isn't it? It's just a different way of looking at it.
Yeah.
I would imagine all your life you haven't owned much other than your family and possibly the trailer or the caravan.
Well, you're right about that. I'm poor all my life.
Yeah.
I'm used to it now. There's no more effect.
But you haven't owned your own business?
Not really, no.
I would imagine you don't know many travellers that do own their own businesses.
There's not a big lot of travellers that I know that owns their own businesses, but I do know there is some travellers out there. There is like you might call it some good businessmen, like.
Absolutely, yeah.
It mightn't be their business mightn't be established, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, go on.
But it doesn't mean they're not good businessmen.
Yes, very good. I find some travelling people. I told you early on when I met you, I told you a story of when I was down in Ballyshannon, I think it is.
Oh, yes.
Is that where Rory Gallagher's from?
Right.
Ballyshannon. And there was we were in the back of a van and an older traveller fella came up to us and he tried to sell us a watch.
Right,
but
yes.
The way he sold the watch to us was he asked us 3, maybe 4 questions. But he asked the questions in a way that it was like rhetorical, where the answer was yes. You know, like, do you like telling the time?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Do you like that watch?
That was a good start, wasn't it?
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you like that watch? And I'd say, yeah. And so I'd say yes, and then the next question, yes. And by the 4th question, it was, you want to give me 100 quid for it? And you have to say,
yes, I like that.
So he's kind of priming you in business.
Yeah.
In business, that's called
So he
priming
never told you he was selling it.
Yeah.
He got you to like it
He
first.
got you to say yes 4 times.
And then he told you it's for sale.
He didn't even, like, by the time I came around to the 4th yes, I was nearly selling myself the watch. So in business, in entrepreneurship, that's called priming you.
But it is good though, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm putting the word in your head.
Yeah. It means there's some smart people there, like.
Absolutely. Like, I think we call them chancers, but that's what an entrepreneur is. They're businessmen.
Yeah, they're chances, but they're businessmen, yes.
They'll try different ways. Like, sure, what is Coca-Cola doing to you? Only putting their word in your head morning, noon and night until the fourth word that comes out of your mouth is when you say, do you want a drink? Yeah, get us a Coke.
Get us a Coca-Cola. Because it's in their head.
So I was looking at a thing today. I think it was Elon Musk, or it was the fellow who owns Microsoft, right? Or it was Microsoft themselves as a company. It was Google. That's who it was. It was Google.
Right.
So Google are after acquiring loads of other different companies.
Yes.
Like WhatsApp or whatever. I don't know if Google has them or Facebook has them. So your man says to them, what companies do you buy? And he says, here's the way we think about it. We use the toothbrush concept. And he said, what do you mean? He says, if you use it twice a day, we buy it.
What about that?
Do you know what I mean? So if there's something you use, like your email or your WhatsApp or your map on your Google Maps or something like that,
They want it.
we buy it. And we turn that into a business then.
Yeah, some people have great business minds.
And that's a business mind.
Business
That's
focus.
their way of going, what are people doing every single day? They don't even realise they're doing.
Yeah.
Let's buy that, make it better, sell it a little bit cheaper, and we'll sell much more of them all over the world.
There could be opportunities like that passing us every single day, and we wouldn't even. If you don't have the business mind for it.
Yeah, now I don't know if those lads are money orientated or money motivated, or they just like ideas, and then the money is just, it comes as part of it.
Yeah, but Dean, in all honesty, like the chances are they are money motivated. Like,
I don't know. I think some of the entrepreneurs I know are more motivated by learning, but at certain points their learning pays dividends.
yes.
It pays off.
What if these guys are already up there and are already rich in business? Like,
Yeah, but they didn't, as we said, go back to the start. Unless they got money from inheritance, or they won the lotto, or they won money gambling, or they have a silver spoon up their arse, they started off on rung 1 or rung 0 of the ladder.
Yes.
And they took their time, they took risks, and they slowly gathered wisdom, knowledge, collateral, and went out and tried stuff. The ladder thing is interesting because I think that travelling people are on rung -1, and that's where they come up with that idea. I'm not even going to take a chance, just give me the money for the job.
Yes.
And they'll probably, if they have that mentality, they'll very
No, is that just the travellers that we're talking about with the young lads, basically?
I think in general, it'll be unlikely with that attitude that they'll ever get off rung -1 as a group of people.
But there is some travellers now that do take chances on certain.
I think there's individuals definitely, but as a group of people, it's not the case. Like I would know, let's say I know personally 100 travellers.
Yes.
There's one of them, and you know this man, who takes more risks than most of those people in that group. Do you know what I mean? The majority of people in that group wouldn't take those risks.
Yes.
Because they wouldn't be in a position to, because they're on rung -. They're not even on rung 0 at the bottom of the ladder. They're underneath that for reasons that we've talked about before, like the Itinerancy Act in 1963, because the whole thing was set up against them. So if they're trying to play a game like the rest of us, take chances and make money, they've got less success.
Because they're not taking chances.
And also because of all the other stuff that's happened to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
the laws, the legislations, the policies.
Yeah. Sometimes in life for certain individuals, with these kind of things, they can keep getting pushed back all the time. So I think it could be a chance also where, like you say, they've tried this, they've tried that, they feel like they've tried everything, and then it's just give up after that. Not for everybody. I'm just saying for some people. But I'm sure you get that in the settled community also. Like,
You do, absolutely. You get a thing, you like in working class communities, you develop a thing called like a victim mentality or something like that. A poor me. You know what I mean?
That's a bad way to think.
It's not as a strategy for survival for long term. It's not good.
I don't think it's good because I find it then if you're actually, it's like you're telling yourself give up kind of thing.
Yeah, because you've been pushed down. You're in the gutter. Now, there is that famous quote, we're all in the gutter, but some of us are looking at the stars. The people who are in the gutter, looking at the gutter, are kind of the ones that have given up.
Yeah, but sometimes when you think you're, how would you say, when you think you're at the bottom, I think that's the time to get up and try again.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I think so.
That's a beautiful one. Yeah, rock bottom is a great place to be.
Because you can't go any further then. You can't go
Can't
any
go any
lower.
further than rock bottom.
Well, you have this, you can say things can only get better.
Things can only get
They're
better,
only up the way from here. Like when you're down and you're out, you're on your way up then from there, put it that way.
Yeah.
If you're willing to get up. Is either stay down or get up. It's one or the other. What choices do you have? Only two choices.
So one of the things that I've kind of learned over my years is sometimes you're free falling and you don't know what you're at and you've no aim, you've no direction. And it's not until you hit rock bottom that you have something solid to push off,
Yeah, that's right.
to stand up off.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I don't have much good sayings now and the likes of that because it's the different ways that people think. And some of them have a good way of thinking. Like, as I said earlier on, things can only get better from here. I'm as low as I can stoop at the moment.
One of the things that interests me about, say, for example, this podcast and me and you talking is that we might say stuff or come across stuff or explore in conversation things that haven't been said
Yeah.
about working class people or traveller people in this country before, and plant seeds in people's heads for them to go, you know what, I'm going to take a risk here. I'm going to take a chance here.
Yeah, that's good. I find that interesting, all right. But sure, it'd be nice anyway, regardless of how this goes for us, basically. It would be nice if we can at least motivate one person.
Well, if I'm motivated by this, I'm happy. If you're motivated by this, I'm
Yes.
sure you'd be happy.
But if we can get one listener that can learn something from it, isn't that good also?
Yeah, or even if they just learn, I could do that.
Yeah, that's right.
I have a voice.
Well, that means they've learned something, isn't it?
Yeah.
Talking about, say travellers on and off there about confidence and how low they can go, all this stuff. What about the people in the settled community also? Does this happen there as well? It does.
Yeah, so I was talking there.
I'm sure it does.
I was talking there a minute ago about a working class mentality or a working class, you have kind of, sometimes you have a victim mentality or you point the fingers out all the time and it's like a poor me. And that's from being kind of, like the wind is in your face all the time. For example, educated middle class people, the wind to be at their back, pushing them up the hill.
Yes.
Working class people generally, the wind is in your face.
Yes.
And you're getting
Pushing you back.
You're getting pushed back. And that over time wears you down. But it also builds up resilience.
Is it not a case where it can also make you stronger?
That's what I'm saying. It builds up resilience. And like I think sometimes I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater and going, oh, this is unfair. I've learned so much about myself and about life and about other people from the struggle.
Yeah, that's right.
Without moaning about it. There's a thing in hip hop, in rap, and it's called the struggle rap, and it's like it was very hard and everything was hard and da 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 da. You know what I mean? But I think there's also the positive stuff from it.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying there. But is there any sense in having pity for yourself if something, say, right, you try to start a business,
Yeah.
or you buy something, or you sell something, whatever it might be, and it just doesn't work out the way that you want it to work out? Is there any sense in having pity for yourself? Because pity is not going to solve anything, is it?
Yeah, but pity's a lovely place to hide.
Yeah, but getting up and making changes is probably a better thing to do, isn't it?
But it's a bit harder.
It is harder, but nothing ever comes easy.
Oh, I like what you're doing there.
Nothing ever comes.
That's very good, Martin. Very good.
Yes, well, there you have it.
I see the little seed you planted there.
Nothing ever comes easy, and that's it, no matter what we say.
But what about if I want it easy?
If you want it easy, it can be easy. It means you're not trying then.
It means maybe
It's your choice and your options you want to take.
maybe you're not growing, you're just in your little comfort zone. And I know, I don't know if you ever heard the band Pink Floyd.
I heard of them, yeah.
So they have a song called Comfortably Numb.
Yes.
And that their idea of that is that when people are kind of hurt and traumatized and broken by life, they'll just sit back into this little place where they get comfortably numb.
Yes.
Whether it's drinking or watching the football or giving out all the time.
So it's so basically as low as they are, then it goes down lower again.
Yeah, well, they
downhill.
kind of wallow in it a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think it's a way out. Put it that way.
Well, I tell you what, it's common enough though.
Oh yeah, it's happened too often.
It's a common
probably
thing. It's a common thing
absolutely everywhere.
in working class communities, in traveller communities.
It's happening in all walks of life.
It's all walks of life. Yeah.
Yes, because it could be a thing that they're telling themselves there's no more options here, but there is options, and plenty of options. No matter what business you're in, or no matter what say circumstances your life is surrounding your life, there's always a way out.
So we're getting very philosophical now, right?
Yes, I like that word there, but I don't understand it, but I like it.
Well, it's about the philosophy of how you live your life or how you see life. So there's a fella called Alexander Solzhenitsyn, I think that's how you pronounce it. And he was in Russia, and he was writing this book about the concentration camps in Russia. And he said, basically, when everything else is gone, what do you have? You know what I mean? When everything, like these lads were in concentration camps, they hardly had teeth, never mind.
When everything else is gone, you have nothing.
Well, when everything else is gone, what do you have? And he said, you have, I think what the point was.
You have you.
We have you and you have purpose.
That's
and your
right,
purpose is to stay alive.
I think that would be the answer. Yeah, you have you yourself, basically.
Yeah. You have your consciousness.
That should be enough.
Yeah, that's his point. He said,
I don't mean it should be enough. That's a silly sort of an answer to give in a sense where, like, family or people around you, stuff like that. I don't mean it that way. I mean is, you have you, which is enough to try to get started again. In other words, it is possible. There is possibilities there, life.
It is possible. You have life.
Yes.
You have your thoughts. You have your head, your thinking, your imagination, your creativity, your heart. You have memories, all these types of things. That's what he was saying. And you also have going forward. You have movement.
Isn't it great the way some people think, though?
Yeah, and he
it's actually very interesting to hear people coming out with them sort of, let's say, calling comments, if you want.
Yeah, and that's almost like psychology. It's philosophy and the psychology of man.
And there's a lot of positivity there, isn't there? Yeah.
So what he sussed out was, even in the place where you think there's nothing, you're there and there is something. Yeah. You're there and you're breathing. You have an in-breath and an out-breath. Yeah. And what else do you need?
Yeah.
Because we surround ourselves by a lot of stuff that we think we need so we can live comfortably.
It was like he had a vision of himself.
Yes, he had a vision of man.
Yeah, well, it was himself. He was still a man.
But not just him. He put
that out to everybody. Yes.
Anyone and everyone.
Yeah.
For all time, backwards and forwards, the whole lot of us.
So he wasn't just talking about himself then?
No, but
very good.
If it was true for him,
it meant the same for everybody.
It was the same for everybody.
Absolutely good, yeah.
So what I'm saying about, for example, confidence and shame and the victim mentality,
yes.
If that's true for you and that's the way you think and that's the way you are, it's possible that we could all think like that, and none of us could think like that.
Yeah, I don't like the self. Don't get me wrong when I say the self-pity. I'm talking about strictly for myself. To be honest with
you, yeah.
I don't like self-pity. I don't mind having pity on people, all right, depending on their circumstances or their cases or who they are, where they're from, or what they're doing, or how their lives are, or have they fallen down, like, you know what I mean? I would have a lot of pity to give, all right, whether it's helpful or not.
Would you have tried self-pity at all?
No, I don't like self-pity. I never let myself
How do you know if you had never tried it?
I'm certain. How do I know? Because I try to keep myself aware of it, because I know self-pity is no good to nobody.
Yeah.
It actually brings you down further.
Where did you learn that from?
From, let's say, people around me, if you want to put it that way. I've had seen the odd person having self-pity on themselves, and it becomes selfish
Yeah, you can wallow in it.
Yeah, but now also I'll have to have respect for that person too, because they mightn't realise they're actually throwing themselves into self-pity.
Yeah, so there's a thing.
They mightn't have the strength or the courage to actually not let this happen to them, if you know what I'm saying.
Strength and courage is they're lovely things. So
Well,
I know a fair few people in AA, for example, and strength and courage are the things that you kind of require to move forward in
Let's
that.
say if I see or know, which I've been honest, I have often seen people having self-pity on themselves. Now, depending on for what reasons also, I feel that they don't have the strength to not have the self-pity on themselves.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Do you
They
understand?
don't have enough strength to break out of the self-pity.
Yes, now that's what I'm trying to say. And sort of give themselves a kick in the arse here kind of stuff.
Yeah, so maybe, and I'm going to go back to the rock bottom, maybe they haven't hit the point where they've went, you know what, I'm done with self-pity.
Because they're getting nowhere with it.
Yeah.
It's doing nothing for them. It's actually bringing them down.
But bringing them down to what? Bringing them down possibly to rock bottom soon.
This is what I'm trying to say. It's bringing them down. It's pushing them back. It's actually, it's not allowing them to jump out of themselves, if that makes any sense.
Like to pull themselves up by their own bootstraps.
It's like, for instance, right, a person has self-pity on themselves. Now, I'm not trying to judge anybody here, okay? I'm just having a conversation, right? From sort of my own experiences watching other people, if you know what I'm saying. Now, if they knew better, they wouldn't allow themselves to have this self-pity. They'd say to themselves, look, I'm better than this.
So in that situation, it's the awareness of it. They mightn't have the awareness of it. So there's an argument to say it's hard to pull yourself up from your own bootstraps if you're not aware of it.
That's right. Now you have it. Exactly.
And where do you get the awareness from? Sometimes you get the awareness from an event, like bang.
Sometimes the awareness might come from somebody else.
Yeah.
Another person could give them a wake-up call. It could be through a little bit. It could be through an argument.
Yeah.
It could be through advice. It could be through a sensible chat.
Or it could be through an event, like somebody close to them has an accident or something like that, or they have an accident.
Yeah. It could be through. It could be through watching or seeing somebody else. Yes. So there's loads of different, let's say, learning points, if you want.
Yeah, opportunities.
Or opening points.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's very clear.
So we can't just judge the person that's having self-pity for themselves, because we might be also wrong about. At the end of the day, we don't know sometimes what people are going through, and is it self-pity or is it just hiding away?
I would imagine, I'm going to make a bold statement here, I'd say most of the time we don't know what people are going through.
That's what I'm trying to say, yes.
Yeah, you said we mightn't know. I'd say most of the time, because I think we give ourselves too much credit.
Well, at times we probably don't know what people are going through.
I'd say most of the times we don't know what most people are going through.
What I find sometimes is that...
But we lean into the judgment sometimes, you know?
Yeah, we're very judgmental at times, I know that. Which we shouldn't be. We should be more concerned than judgmental. If a person is having all this self-pity for themselves and it's not doing them any good, basically, I think sometimes it's okay to approach them with, not with like harsh words or with toughness. Approach them in a way where you're actually not, you're trying to sort of give them a wake-up call here. You're letting them know, look, this is stupid. You're having self-pity for yourself here. There's no need to be like this. Come on, cop yourself on and get out of your boots, kind of thing. I know there's different ways of explaining that.
That's a very good way of explaining it. So, but that's kind of like an intervention.
You can actually be doing them a favour by being more, more straightforward, that little bit stricter with them.
Yeah.
In other words, look, I'm not giving you any petting or coaxing here. I'm telling you straight up, the situation is you're just being whatever, but you're being tough on them. You're being tough.
So there's a thing,
it's for their own good.
There's a thing called tough love.
Tough love. Now that's what it's called. So you're being tough on them, but you know it's for their own good. It's not for your good. It's for to better them, to make them see, because they mightn't see it.
So you're at the mention of two ways of doing it. One, it sounded like you were talking about compassion, and then the other one was tough love. And I think there's an interesting balance between both of them.
That's right.
Where you have a bit of compassion,
yeah,
a bit of cop on,
yes,
but you're also not afraid to be straight with somebody.
Yeah, but see, the thing about it is, the straightness part is the best thing of all, be straight with them and tell them sort of what you think. And tell them also, look, you're being, whatever, as I said again, you're being stupid here. Look, try to copy yourself on here. Give yourself a shake, get out and about and do whatever has to be done. That kind of sense. The chances are that they'll probably realise themselves then, look, he's right.
So I'm gonna give an
here.
example of something like that, and I'm gonna say stuff maybe that people haven't heard before. I was talking to a traveller man,
Yes.
and he was in a bit of a situation. He was angry and he was feeling sorry for himself, and I gave him a little bit of tough love.
Yes.
But at the same time, I put my arms around him and I said, "Come here and give me a hug."
Yeah.
And I've never seen this reaction from a traveller man before, where he leaned into that opportunity
Yes.
rather than running for the hills.
Yes.
And I think that was, it took courage and strength for him to do that.
I've often seen people like this. And I've often been genuinely, me for starters, anyway, I'm not saying I wouldn't be feeling sorry for people, right? But I am saying is, I think at times if you're straight about things, it might be hurtful, but it might be the best way sometimes. In the end, it can make that person stronger.
Yeah.
I've often been, how would I say, sort of try to advise a certain individual about, it could be anything going on in their lives. I would always be that little bit stricter, not strict, I'd be that little bit tough about things. For instance, right, they're doing silly things in their lives. You know it's not good for them. It's distracting themselves or family around them or whatever it might be. Could be causing problems for family also. So if you can approach them in a way where you let them look at, what I'm saying is you have to be that little bit tough with them, because why? You can't approach them like you're talking to a 2-year-old, because they'll stay at that level then. But if they're 25 or 30 or whatever age they are, and you talk to them at that age, then the chances are they will straighten themselves out quicker.
Yeah, and I think that they will get the point. They will get the meaning behind it more than if you don't approach them straight.
Eventually they'll click on that you're concerned about them, for starters.
And I think how we
And
know
for
that
their own good.
how we know that is because when people do that to you, you go, that works.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When people approach you like that, you focus and you go, right, this person's here to tell me something. Now, that's well and good, I think, when you're, let's use the latter example again, when you're on rung 0 or rung 1. But
Yes.
when you're lower than that again, that's a very interesting place. And I know that because I've been there.
Yes.
I've been in that place where I don't even want to go outside the bedroom. I don't even want to put the curtain up. And what I done then was, so see the way you're saying, I'm going to be honest to this person. I was honest to myself
Yes.
at that point
Yeah.
where I wasn't even in a position to hear or listen to anyone else. And I was almost to the point where I wasn't listening to or hearing myself.
Yourself, yes.
And I got to a rock bottom and I went, I'm going to be honest with myself.
Yes.
And the honesty was, here's what I'm doing, here's what I'm afraid of, and here's the direction I want to go in.
I'm going to dig myself out of this kind
I'm going
of
to
thing.
dig myself out of this.
Yes,
you
that's
know?
right.
And it's at
Yeah,
that
that's
point
interesting.
when there's other people there to go, because people want to help you.
Yeah, but don't forget, you see, you can be giving a person an explanation.
Yeah.
And yes, they might be down and out. And you're there to help them, obviously, right? But your words mightn't ring in their mind that moment.
Yeah, you sow a seed.
It could be, yes, exactly. It could be an hour after, it could be a day after, it could be a week after.
It could be
When these
it could be
words can
40 years later. Because I remember
I wouldn't like to wait 40 years now to try and
No,
get
but
it.
I remember my teacher, you know this guy, his name is Hugh Daly, he's from St. Joseph's Primary School, and he said to me
Was
something.
he the Gaelic player he was?
He was the Gaelic teacher, yeah.
He was great. He was good with travellers, you know that.
Amazing, he was a great fella. I actually interviewed him a couple of months ago for another thing that I was doing. Great fella. But he said to me at one point, now, when he recalls the story back, it's not the same, but that's the interesting part. This is what I got out of it. What I got out of it was, he said, put your chin up, put your shoulders back, and walk forward.
That's right, yes. Very
And
good.
that helped me when I was at my lowest point 40 years later.
So
that
you
sentence
remember
like that,
them words, basically.
I remember his sentiment, the words in it, yeah.
Yeah.
And I also remember how it made me feel.
Yes. He was great with, I remember him, he was actually great with the young lads. He used to teach them how to play the Gaelic.
Yeah.
And he had a great respect for the genuinely now with all the little
He had
traveller.
passion, he had respect, he had
For
a
all the travelling young
straightforwardness.
lads. Now, them travelling young lads now today would be in their, say, their 25s, 30s. The same young lads that he used to teach. He's probably going back further than that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I know for sure that the young lads he would have taught back then, when they would have been 12 and 13 years of age, and he would have, now them young lads would be in their 25s and 30 years old.
Yeah.
And he taught every one of them to play, I think it was Gaelic, wasn't it? But he used to put a lot of time into learning them, actually. It was actually great. I haven't seen him in a long, long time now.
So what he was doing was, he was putting time and energy and taking risks on people,
Yes.
like an entrepreneur, going back to that again, and paying off, not even for him, paying off for somebody else
For them, that's
down
right.
the line.
Yes.
But paying off for the wider community, for the wider society.
And the strange thing is, he was doing it over and over and over, because why he was dealing with the same level of classes, if you like. So basically, that class moved along next year. Then it was a different class he was to teach then. Then they moved along, and he was dealing, you know what I'm saying? So it was going on like that for years.
Yeah.
So there was no giving up on him, was there?
10, 11-year-olds, right?
Yeah,
use
whatever,
move on.
say
Right,
up to
another
whatever
10,
age.
11-year-olds.
So there was no giving up on him in a sense where he knew, say he had that, let's say he had them built up to that certain standard.
Yeah.
Then he knew they were going to be out of his hands next year. Then he'd do the same thing with another class again, or was it another group of Gaelic players, as we call it, right?
So the ones he had for the time he had them, he put the effort in that he was able to do.
Yeah.
And he was then able to go, right, you move on now.
Yes, and do the same again.
There's an interesting lesson in that.
Yeah, I thought that was fairly interesting anyway.
And I think part of it is do what you're good at. What do you enjoy and do what you're good at?
That was in St. Joseph's School. There was some great teachers in that school in St. Joseph's.
That's where I went, St. Joseph's in Ballymun. Yeah, primary school.
In Ballymun.
It was amazing. Really, really good teachers.
Tell me something, will you? Do you know when you were in school, you're saying, you must be a long time ago when you were in St. Joseph's, was it?
One of my 49, I think, this year.
40 years ago, is that right?
40 years ago.
Now, at that time, I don't know if there was travellers in them schools, was there?
There was travellers in our school.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I do remember. And they had a special traveller class. So it doesn't matter what age of traveller you were,
Yes.
or what year you were in.
Yes.
They were all in the one class.
Yeah. That was what would you call it?
That was segregation, apartheid.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was special treatment for.
It was a serious lack of understanding on the headmaster's behalf.
I don't think it was just him. I think nationally there was a serious.
Yeah, then I'll tell you a little bit about nationally now, will I?
Go on.
So basically, anyway, that school for now is a brilliant school now, St.
Yeah.
Joseph's in Ballymun. There's actually two schools. It's junior infant, it's senior and juniors, junior and seniors. And the teachers are brilliant with the kids. There's a lot of kids now, the traveller kids, that has learned a lot in them two schools. Well, of course, they're only babies starting off in them.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as of course, onto the senior side of it, the kids in that age have learned a lot, every single one of the kids. Very good. The teachers are very good with them, very respectful to them, treats them absolutely with total equality. You're saying there was kids back 40 years ago in St. Joseph's School in Ballymun.
Yeah, but it wasn't just in St. Joseph's School. My experience is that loads of schools around the country had what were generally called special classes for traveller children.
That's right. It was a disgrace. Absolutely. Yeah, I know that. The other thing about it was, anyway, before the travellers really started going to St. Joseph's, there was especially the travellers now from Ballymun, basically.
Yeah.
They were all in like sort of scattered schools.
Right.
And most of all, some of them weren't in school at all.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you how I know this. On the site where we lived, we're going back years and years now, right? There was two buses would come in, two coaches, yeah.
Yeah.
And they'd collect the kids in the mornings, and one bus would bring the kids down to Gardner Street School. You know Gardner Street?
Yeah.
There's a big school in Gardner Street. Then the other bus would come and bring the rest of the kids to Priorswood School, Coolock. Back then, there wasn't a lot of kids from Ballymun, traveller kids from Ballymun, going to St. Joseph's School. regardless of whatever reasons I don't know back then. But again, yeah, we were in a class where there was. No, I'm not throwing the sympathy card here or the discrimination card, okay? Where there was all traveller kids in one class.
Yeah.
At the time, we probably didn't understand anything better.
Well, not if you were a 10-year-old kid.
Probably a 9-year-old.
You know what I mean?
And again, the other thing, what thinking back, like, when it came out to, let's say, playtime on the yards, the traveller kids, this is no lies, this is true, the traveller kids was allowed to go out in that yard, but only just the traveller kids. So there was a separate playtime on the yards. It sounds crazy now.
So you were separated, not just in the yard, but you had different playtimes.
Yes, 1,000,000%.
The traveller kids are out first or last or whatever.
Whatever. Say the settled people was out, the settled kids are first.
Yeah.
And then when the settled kids come in, then the traveller kids could go out.
So we have different examples of that in the world. One is, for example, black children. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That they would have separate schools in America in the 50s and 60s than
Yes.
white children. Or you would have in South Africa where you'd have apartheid.
Yes.
You'd have two groups of people who living in the same community but are apart.
Being honest about it, it is a disgrace. And it's a bigger disgrace to the people that made the decisions like this.
Well, in any other country, we'd call that segregation or apartheid.
Apartheid, yeah, that's right.
In Ireland, in the 70s and 80s,
We call it discrimination, isn't it?
we just called it, that's normal.
Oh, yeah, we call it normal, but with the word used would be discrimination.
We weren't
But
using
back
that word
to-
then. We're
being
only
honest
using that
about-
word now.
I think it was a lack of knowledge for starters, lack of understanding. There was a lot of things lacking about the whole thing, about the whole system. Being honest about, it was genuinely a complete disgrace.
I think
At the time, we
I
didn't
think one
pass
of the
it.
words I'd use is ignorance as opposed to a lack of knowledge.
Ignorance is underestimating the situation. As I said, as a child, you don't pass the heat of these things.
But you did have parents,
We did.
and I'm sure that they
But-
had thoughts on it.
Yeah, but on the other hand, was this something that the parents were brought up to also? Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Was this something that they got used to? So do you understand?
Or
Does it
did
make sense?
they have the education or the words, as a traveller
I
person
don't
would
think
say?
they had an education. It didn't mean that they didn't have intelligence or understanding. Do you get what I'm saying? Or could it be a case where, look, what can we do about this? There's nothing we can do about it. They told us there's nothing we can do about it. If you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, and anytime we try and do something about it,
We're getting pushed back. Yeah, it's
or we're getting told, look, in law, you're not meant to be here anyway.
This is how it's going to be. This is how it's meant to be. Now, as I said, I'm only thinking back, like it's a long time
Yeah,
back.
but look, it's the same as, for example, when I was a young fella. So this was 1984, for example.
Yes.
So what age am I? I'm 11 years of age. 10, 11 years of age, going in to see Santa Claus in Switzer's over on Grafton Street of a Monday, a couple of days before Christmas. My mammy brings us all in, we go and see Santa Claus. Of the Wednesday then, I go into school and there's a priest and the head teacher and probably a guard there saying, you 4 boys over there, yous are heading off now to this industrial school. And I was like, well, what did I do? And they were like, well, you were mitching. I was going, well, I wasn't mitching. I went to see Santa Claus. No, you were mitching. You're going off. So that was around the same time that you would have been in school. So there was a lot of stuff that happened like that. Like people being segregated, like traveller people. Young boys and girls being sent off to different industrial schools and such.
In that school particular, right?
Yeah.
The teachers were very, very nice. There was a nun there, Sister Rita, her name was, and she was absolutely just tremendous. She was. She's a beautiful nun. She was. She was very, very nice nun. She basically loved the travellers. This is without a doubt. So, and the teachers in the school also was very good with the travellers, right? So it would make you wonder who was making these rules.
Yeah, where was these decisions being made? Was
So
it being
definitely
made?
it wasn't the teachers.
Was it the headmaster? Was it the department? Was it the minister? Was it the
It
guards?
could be the headmaster, but is he getting told what to do also?
Well, yeah. So the question is, where does the book stop?
Yeah, because how I know it wasn't the teachers. The teachers were very good in the school,
Yeah,
and I had a great respect for the traveller kids in the school. And then, as I said, there was a nun there who was teaching traveller kids also. She was a teacher in the school, and she was very good with the travellers.
and it wasn't the case that something like this, let's say the segregation of travellers, it wasn't just specific to this one school in 1980s Ballymun. This was across the board, as far as I can see.
Everywhere.
And there was teachers. You might have been lucky enough that you had teachers up there that liked travellers, but I'm sure there were schools where they didn't like travellers as well.
It's possible. I never experienced that part of it. What I am saying was, anyway, telling the truth is the best policy, as the fellow would say. The fact that the teachers themselves were actually nice to the kids in the classes, it meant he was telling you straight off. Look at. It's not. It wasn't the teacher that was making these decisions.
So that's the point I'm trying to make. Regardless of whether or not the teachers liked travellers or didn't like travellers,
Yes.
the decision looked like it was being made at a different level.
A higher level, yes.
At a different meeting that the teachers were at. They were just like, look, this
Getting told what to do, kind
this
of
is
thing.
beyond us. We're not even making the decision here.
Yeah.
We're being told that this is what's
Well,
going
I'll
on.
give you a small example of that now, will I?
Go on.
I had my kids going to school in a school in Roselawn in Blanchardstown, yeah? 22 years ago. Now, 22 years, bear in mind, it is a long time, but it's not a long time in the different senses.
Well, it's 2000.
It's
the year before 9/11 happened.
Yeah, we're in good times, as we call it. So what I mean, good times. We're not talking about 1930s or 40s.
This is ancient Egypt.
Exactly. In 22 years ago was back in 2000, yeah. And I had 3 kids going to Roselawn School. Now, Roselawn School would have been, you might say, an upper class area.
Yeah.
Okay. Got the kids in there anyway. The bus used to come and collect the kids. Now, they would have collected another 12 or 14 kids also at the same time. Look, I'm just saying 12 or 14, probably another 10 kids anyway.
Yeah.
Right. At the same sort of area, right? So, one morning the kids missed the bus. And so what I decided I'm going to drive them up to the school altogether. As I done manage the time afterwards then, right? Because it's only a short time in the school, and when they joined the school, there was no discussion about what class they're going into or like who their teachers' names are or this kind of stuff. Because the understanding was that the headmaster were going to deal with that, put them into the classes that they should be in. If you know what I mean?
Yeah, so you were assuming, I'm just trying to bring these kids up. The headmaster is going to do...
Well, the wife would have went in and done this, but that part of it, like, at the time also.
Well, the headmaster is going to do the best thing for these and put them in the appropriate class.
Yes, that was the understanding. So anyway, this particular morning, anyway, the bus broke down. The bus didn't break down. The kids missed the bus by a few minutes. And, of course, I brought them up to school in the car, basically. So when I arrived up to the school anyway, and I asked each of the kids, which class are you and which class are you in? There's 3 of them. They said we're all in the same class. Now, it sounds a bit slow that we wouldn't have known this, like, through asking them what classes they're in.
Were they all the same age?
Previously, no.
So I'm going back to what I was saying to you.
There would have been 3 years, about 3 years the difference.
So that was my experience
to the oldest.
20 years before that,
right.
When you were in school, or when I was in school, when I was in St. Joseph's,
yeah.
and I was saying to you, how did your parents not know? Fast forward another 20 years, when you're a daddy and you've got kids, you didn't even know.
No, never suspected it. I would have never suspected it. The story was, dropped the kids up to the school and, of course, walked them into the school and asked them what classes they were in. There was a door. It wasn't the main door of the school. There was a door on the side of the school leading directly into the class. So as soon as you opened this door, on the side of the school, that was their class. So you didn't walk through the corridors. You didn't walk through the main doors. Does it make sense?
Yeah, they went into the service entrance.
The best way of saying it, when you opened their door on the edge of the playground, You stepped into that door, you were in their class.
You have the white door and the black door. They went into the black door.
Well, look at the door that they stepped in was.
Do you know what I mean? Because they used to have doors like that.
Oh yeah, I know what you're saying.
You know
there.
what I mean?
Yeah,
White's
yeah.
in here and black's in here.
But anyway, stepped in the door anyway and looked, and there was about, along with the kids from, as I said, from where we were, there was about 30 kids altogether. There could have been more. There was about 30 kids in this class, and they were all different ages.
Were they all travellers?
All travellers.
Wow.
They were aged between, like, say, I'm sort of guessing now back then, right? Age between probably, I'm guessing 5 and 8, maybe 5 and 10.
Which would have been maybe
That's a
three
big- that's a
different
big-
years.
That's a big age gap.
Yeah, that's probably whatever it is, second class, third class and fourth class.
Let's say you had juniors and seniors
Yeah.
in the one class. That's
All
how it
one,
was.
yeah.
That's the best way of putting it. So I looked and I just said, hold it. Oops, it is. Here we go. I called the teacher in the class. I asked her, I said, what's the story here about all these kids? What do you mean? She said. I said, all the kids are different ages, I said. And I said, bad enough different ages. Different ages was a problem, but it wasn't the biggest problem.
Well, I don't know if you noticed, but they're all travellers.
I said, they're all traveller kids. Is this the only class you have for traveller kids? Yes, she said, all the traveller kids, you come to this class every morning, she said.
This is 20 years ago.
22 years ago.
Happy days.
So I said, can I speak to the headmaster, please? And she brought me down, she led me down to the headmaster. And of course, in the end, he turned out to be a nice headmaster. Again, he could have been getting told what to do.
Yeah.
Right, anyway, this is a different school now, 22 years ago, and 20 years and more after I went to school, if you understand now.
Yeah.
But anyway,
You would hope it's different.
as I said, it wouldn't have entered my mind.
Yeah.
But anyway, I approached the headmaster and I said, what's the story with the kids here? I said, so all the traveller kids in one class, and I said, all different ages. And I said, worse again, I said, this is the truth. So crayons and so paper on top of their desks. So what's the story there?
Are you saying crayons?
Crayons and paper
paper.
on top of the tables. I said, how are they supposed to learn anything there?
Where was there was obviously no books.
Look, this was on top of the tables.
Yeah.
Crayons and paper. This is genuinely no lies, right? I said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do to you, I said, I'm going to be very fair to you, I said. He said, no, he blushed up a little bit, right? Because he knew he'd get a challenge here. I said, I want you to have my oldest lad, I said, the oldest basically, right? I think this, on this particular day was of a Thursday, right? When this happened. I said, I'm giving you until Monday, I said, right, watch, to have him in a settled class. And I said, I'm giving you till the following Wednesday to have me other girl, I said, in a settled class. I did, like, basically her age group, her age, his age, her age. And I said, my other girl, I said, I'm giving you till the following, that was, yeah, I gave him till Friday. I'm not going to exaggerate the story anyway.
So you gave him a bit of slack anyway.
I gave him a bit of time. I gave him a week,
Yeah.
which was too much. I said, I'm giving you till, anyway, I said, till the following Friday, I said, I have my other girl in a class, I said, her age group, I said, but a settled class. That was Thursday, yeah? The young lad, I sent him off to school, basically. He said, I told him, I said, I'll tell you what I'll do with you, I'll be fair also, I said, I won't tell all the parents when I go home, I said, that all their kids are stuck in one class also. I said, sort that one out yourself. I did it to him. But anyway, by next, the following, that was Thursday, the following Friday, which was next day, when the kids came home from school, they told me the oldest lad was put into such a class.
Very good.
This was next day, honestly,
Yeah.
it's no lies. And then, next Monday and next Tuesday after that, the two girls were put into settled classes. And not only that, he took more of the kids from the classes, from the one class, and also put them into the class with them. So basically now, my two girls had their two best friends in with them, same ages basically, and into them classes with the. So now they were in a fresh class with country settled children, and also they had their best friends in with them as well.
Lovely.
So which made them feel comfortable again. That was it. I never went back around to school then. I don't mean I never went back around it. I never had to complain then. But
the job was done.
of course. Within 2 weeks, he had every one of the kids in settled classes. And the traveller class, was completely done away with
There was no more.
within 2 weeks.
No more apartheid.
No more traveller class. It was completely. It was no. The class would have been in use for whatever reasons, but no more. And that's 22 years ago. And since that, I know a lot of kids now that still goes to that school. Right, it'd be relatives of mine, but to be young kids like. After that, then see my own kids then progressed very well in the line of learning.
Well, they're in mixing with people of different abilities, different backgrounds,
Yeah.
different colours, different shapes and sizes.
They're going to learn. That's
Rather
it.
than right, all the travellers in there, don't care what age you are, here's a load of crayons and a load of blank pages.
Well, the classes that were put into them would have been same age groups for, like I'm saying, so they get all the same learnings, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
So it meant good. Being honest about it, that's back in 2000. Yeah, 2000. That's 22 years ago.
So you probably undone
That
something
happened.
that was going on. Well, that was going on
It was going
in
on, yeah.
schools all over Ireland for
Possible.
years.
Yes.
And by chance, by the bus breaking down or whatever reason,
Yeah.
that you went,
Put it this way.
Mammy, I'll take them up to school.
One time or another, I would have went up there anyway, but I never suspected that all the kids at the different age groups were all stuck in one class. It was about 30 kids, believe it or not.
So let's
was
imagine,
Disgraceful it was.
let's imagine you don't go up.
If I didn't at the time,
Yeah,
the kids would have. No, I'd say. See, the thing about it is, even with
eventually it would have happened.
it would have happened because even with the schools now, as the kids were growing up along, we sort of kept in regular touch with the schools
Yeah,
because it's nice to know how the kids are improving as well. You know what I mean? How they're
I'm
getting on.
wondering. I'd love to know what your man is thinking or was thinking. You know, was this just policy? Oh, this is just what we do. We don't even pay any heed to it. Or was he inside going, you know what? I knew this was bleeding wrong. I knew there was something up here.
Yeah,
Or did he see that at all?
that's right.
Did he see that at all? That's an interesting conversation that we'll never know. We'll never be the fly on the wall. And probably you never asked him because you were being kind of giving him a bit of grace and a bit of, you know, you were being a bit humble.
Yeah, I was. I gave him space basically,
Yeah.
and he did. He took the orders. Let's put it that way. And he went and done what was right thing.
And it probably wasn't even, like, knowing you a little bit, it probably wasn't even orders. I think he just put it in a way that it was undeniable. So you know what I mean? He's not going to be able to find a way to go, hold on a bit, Martin here, we have a traveller class and that's the end
No,
of it.
there was no way out of this for him.
Yeah.
It wasn't going to happen any other way.
Yeah.
It was changed the circumstances, and that was it. There was no other options for him.
What I'm thinking is, are there any other opportunities for travelling people or for, let's say, working class people
Yeah.
to do similar things
Yes.
for stuff? Because I'm involved with you up in St. Margaret's Park, you know?
Well, it's back to the one thing that it's about speaking up, isn't
It's
it?
about speaking up. So I'm thinking, is there any other things that it's time for us to speak up about?
In what sense?
Well, you didn't even know that was a situation to speak up against.
That's right.
And
yes.
maybe there's stuff that's happening to your community, to your people,
Yeah.
that you're not even aware of.
Yeah, but if you're not aware of them, then how do you speak up for stuff?
Exactly. So probably what we can do in these podcasts
Yes.
from time to time is explore some of those things. Like, here's one. Yeah. Employment. Here's another one.
Yeah.
Access to hotels for weddings.
Yes. That's been a big thing. That's been a big thing for a long, long time.
I know. So I know. Probably one of the most prominent travellers in the country. I won't mention his name, but he online asked a couple of weeks ago, listen, there's a family wedding happening in our family.
Yeah.
Is there anybody in Dublin who has a hotel, please, that could help us? We want to put on an event. Now, I've never, ever, ever heard that
No.
from a country person or a settled person.
Is he like pleading out like he is?
He's just saying, look, we promise, you know, it's going to be very respectful, but
Yeah.
we've went to every hotel within a 20-mile radius, and they've all come back to us saying, not a hope.
We're booked out.
We're booked out.
Yeah, that would be the usual thing.
That's
They're
interesting, isn't
They're
it?
going to say we're booked out. Simple
We're,
as.
we're booked out. We're booked out that day.
So they're not
Regulars
exactly-
only, please.
So then they're not exactly being accused of refusing. Yeah, they're just simply saying we're booked out. That's it.
Well, it's just like having an all-traveller class. They're not exactly saying we don't want you in the school, but
Yeah.
we're booked out.
Yeah.
All the classes are full.
Yeah. I think, Dean, don't get me wrong in saying this. I think a lot of travellers get absolutely tired of trying to, let's say, establish themselves, if you want. I don't know if that's the right words. Trying to prove themselves.
Reputation and credibility.
Yes. They just get tired of it. They give up on it because it's happening for so long, right? And again, as I said in our last podcast, but there is some great people in Ireland. There is some good settled people and in the settled community, basically, if you like.
Yeah.
And that's even including people running businesses. There is some good people who have a little time for travellers, who have a little bit of respect for travellers, who show a bit of grace and a bit of dignity. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's not always the case. So as I said, back to the one thing, even if there is a lot of discrimination that has gone on for years and years and years, there also is good people.
And just like we were talking about at the
I'll ask you a
start,
question, Dean, will I?
What?
Go on, when you're finished now.
just like we were talking about at the start, if you're bet down so much, sometimes it's easier to stay down.
That's the opinion that some of them have, yes.
Yeah. And what we might be able to do and explore
It's like walking somewhere and, again, I know people are probably sick and tired of listening to these one sort of things over and over and over, but it's happening over and over.
Yeah.
About, say, getting refused from certain venues or stuff like that there, yeah? It's like you try somewhere and they tell you no. And you get told no so many times. You don't want to be told no anymore. So to avoid being told no, you don't go down that avenue again.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
You don't even chance it because you're going, I'm got to be
You're
rejected.
actually even telling
rejected and embarrassed here so many times.
You're telling yourself, and you're also telling your friends.
Yeah.
No, lads, don't even go there because no way, we're going to get through out anyway. Or we're going to get we're not going to get through out. We're not even going to get a chance to get in to get through out.
No, so much. I thought no was my second name.
So a lot of that happens to a lot of travellers. Yeah, so you can genuinely understand why they can be upset, like, you know what I mean? And for me to sit here and say that doesn't happen, I'd be what you call be a hypocrite, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It does happen, and it happens too often.
You said you were going to ask me something there.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, yeah.
Go on.
As a countryman, yeah, if you had a pub,
yeah,
and your business is running smooth and nice and cosy, and 4 or 5 traveller lads, or maybe 3 or 4 travellers or 3 or 4 women with, or say 3 or 4 couples, yeah, comes to the door, and now generally, well, I don't mean generally, but a lot of pubs now have bouncers doing their jobs, so the barman doesn't have to answer for it, or even the owner. And a couple of travellers came there to the pub, yeah? Would you serve them?
I would.
You would?
But I haven't had the experience.
Is that because you know travellers? Is it because you've dealt with travellers, you've done business?
A little bit of that. Also, I try and treat everyone as they come. You know what I mean? As opposed to saying, that's like saying, would you serve black people?
I'm asking you, would you serve travellers?
Hold on for a second. If there was a black person and he was acting like a dope, you'd have to deal with it. If there was a traveller who was acting like a dope, you'd have to deal with it. As a group of people, would I serve a group of people or choose not to serve a group of people? I'd have to say I'd serve a group of people. But I've never ran a pub.
No, I understand that. That's why I said if.
If I was running a pub, I would say...
No, come here. Look, let's go back to...
From my thinking, I would serve... I would have no problem serving anybody.
No. If you didn't know travellers, if you didn't, let's not make this
question...
Well,
there's 2 ifs now. If I owned the pub and
right,
if I didn't know travellers...
10 ifs before I'm finished.
Yeah.
If don't make this question complicated, right? If you didn't know travellers and you owned a pub, I'd say 3, maybe 4 travellers comes to the door of the pub and... just say neatly dressed. They're generally neatly dressed anyway, right? Would you say yes or no to them?
To serve them, I'd say yes.
You'd say yes?
Yeah.
Without even knowing them?
I'd say yes to anybody without even knowing them.
I'm talking about travellers, Dean.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is I'd say yes to anybody without even knowing them.
You'd say anybody. So you'd say yes to travellers.
If any 4 or 5 lads turned up.
Yeah. So
regardless of them being travellers or anything.
So you say yes to them even if you didn't know them, yeah?
Yeah.
You would. All right, that's good.
Would you?
Oh yes, I'd let myself in, no problem.
But so here's another example. I walked up in Finglas with some traveller lads, and the first interaction I had with them was very aggressive.
Right, go on, yes.
It was just very aggressive because I found that these young traveller lads, their default mode was aggression.
Right. But do you think sometimes, I'm not saying aggression can be pushed on, do you think sometimes this attitude can be pushed upon them?
Yeah, and I also think it's a survival strategy. It's a way of surviving in the world.
Yeah.
As I said before, they're on the back foot jabbing all the time.
Right.
Because they've been pushed down so much.
Yeah, but you know that, do you know when someone says no, sometimes no can be offensive, you know that?
Give me an example of that.
Well, I'll tell you something, right, just say for instance, right, I'm already giving you an example, yeah? Say a travel lad goes to the door of a pub and he's all excited about getting in there. He wants to get in, have a few drinks and maybe whatever, a game of pool or a game of darts, a chat with the lads or whatever, just say. And of course, only for a night out, yeah, it's more or less chill out time. And all of a sudden he gets told, sorry, you can't come in here. Now, I think he's going to be upset, isn't he? Especially if there's no other reason, only that he's a traveller. So now we have a nice guy. Believe me, there is some nice guys among the traveller community.
Absolutely, you're
and
one of them.
Of course, the same as the settled community, right? So a nice guy now coming to the door, or three guys even, I'm only just saying that as an example, right? They're in great form, and they're not expecting anything else, only just to walk through that door, go in, have a few drinks, sit down, have a chat. Again, if there's a game of darts going, if they want to get involved with that, fine. If they don't, still fine. But they reach the door of the pub, and they've been told, sorry lads, you can't come in here. So they're automatically thinking, look, is this a traveller thing here, right? So now they're getting upset, aren't they? It would upset them because there and then being told no upsets your night. So the chances are, it depends on what kind of way they want to look at it. They could walk away, or they could stand there and try and sort of prove their points in a sense where, why is this happening? Why are we getting turned away?
Fight, flight, or freeze.
So basically, aggression can take place then.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So now they've been given a sort of a reason to, especially if they're told, look, you're not regulars. How do you become a regular if you don't get a chance, if you don't get your foot in the door first? You cannot become a regular or make that place a local place.
Well, we all know the phrase "regulars tonight only" has and always will be a bullshit statement.
It's burnt out.
Yeah,
it's absolutely burnt out.
Because I grew up with it coming from Ballymun.
How do you become a regular somewhere if you don't get that foot in the door?
So as soon as you hear regulars only, the way I hear that is, I'm going to tell you whatever bullshit I need to tell you in order for you to realise you're not coming in here tonight.
Yes. So do you go back to that pub the next night or next week and be told no again, and do the same the following week and be told no again?
No, eventually you stop going to those pubs.
Do you have to go to that pub 10 times in a row and to be told you have to become a regular? So what makes you a regular? Does being told no after no after no after no, does that make you a regular? No, it doesn't.
So what's your point? Because we all know that phrase.
My point is, do I have to show my face every single week I throw that pub, knowing that I'm getting told no to become a regular? Is that what it takes?
So you know that that's not the answer.
Of course not the answer.
So what is the answer?
The answer is let them in and let them become a regular. Try them out, see what they become when they're in there.
Okay, so regardless
give them a chance, give them the benefit of the doubt.
So regardless of who they are, because I've had that experience growing up as
come here. There's a 90% chance, right, that when there's a doorman at that door, or a barman behind that bar, or a boss walking around that pub, there's a 90% chance, no matter what he says, he can pick a traveller out. Let it be the accent, say the way they talk, or the way they act even.
So hold on for a sec. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing. Because when I was like 18, 19, 20, going into pubs in town, you can tell a million miles away that I'm coming from somewhere like Ballymun. The way I walk, the way I talk, the way I dress, the way my haircut is.
Some of them are trained into this.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I've got that all my life as well.
Yeah.
To the point where I remember being in one place, I think it's pulled down at the moment now, the Big Tree, and I was asked to leave because...
Where was that in town?
In town, Dorset Street. I was asked to leave because just the way I looked, you know what I mean? I was 6 foot, big Ballymun head and me, talking like this, and I was asked to leave. Now, what I done was, I called the manager, I got all the bouncers down, and we had a discussion going, who do you think is asking me to leave just because, you know, you don't like the way I sound or you don't like the way I look? What have I done? Have I annoyed anyone? Have I broke the law? Have I smashed the place up?
Yes.
Now, I got away with that. I don't think a traveller would ever get away with that.
Sometimes you might if you talk up.
Okay.
Don't fight. You don't need to fight.
Yeah.
If you can talk up. I'll give you a small example of that, right? About, say, 10, 12 years ago, one of my kids were making first communion, yeah? And my father was basically an alcoholic, right? But anyway, besides that. And there was a pub there, it was called the Towers in Ballymun.
I know it well.
Now bear in mind, we're 42 years living in Ballymun, okay? And he liked a pint, so he was in these pubs regular, and I mean regular. He would go from there to the Penthouse, back over to he switched around. So he was making he had two locals now, hadn't he? Rightly so, he was in his area. So lo and behold, anyway, the Towers pub was taken over by another management, if you want, under new management.
Yeah.
And he reorganised the bouncers, the bar staff, he tidied the place up very well, okay, if you want to put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, my father there was one seat he'd always sit on. God rest him, he's 4.5 years dead now. But anyway, this particular time, he was in the pub, and a couple of lads comes in, didn't they? So what to do? They sat down beside him. He didn't mind. But at the end of the night, there was one or two of them had a little bit too much to drink, and they knocked a glass off the table. There was no arguing or fighting now. So of course, the bouncer come around and, it's okay, lads, he says, he just lifted the glass. So he sent over one of the bar staff then just to dry up the floor, basically, if you like.
Yeah.
Yes. So that was it. There was nothing more about that then, right? The next day, they sent up the boss, the owner of the pub, he sent up word to the site, basically, where we live. He sent word up that tell the lads that they're barred. So my father was basically, let's say, he understood that he was barred also. He shouldn't have understood this. He shouldn't have took this because he was never barred from the pub in his life, right? And anyway, so he decided, look, I'm not going to go down there because I'm going to be told no. So what he done was he started going to the Penthouse and say the Kappa House. Yeah? No, what I mean, he was always going to the Penthouse in between all this as well.
You went to the Kappa House as well?
At this particular time, the Penthouse got shut down, right? So now he used to go for a drink over to the Kappa House. So this was going on for about 6 or 7 weeks, be honest about. And this day on the day of the communion, anyway, I said to him, do you want to go for a drink? He said, there's nowhere to go. I said, we'll go down to the Towers. He said, I'm barred out of the Towers. I said, you're not barred out of the Towers. But I am, he said. I said, you're not. So how could you be barred out of the Towers when you've done nothing wrong on it?
Yeah.
But he said they sent up word, he said, for no more travellers to come down there. Said,
that was the word, no more travellers.
No more travellers.
Not just like
no, the travellers from Ballymun, travellers,
yeah.
There was a group of travellers, that's all it was. Probably, there could be 8 or 9 lads altogether.
So that's like if I went in and spilled the point, they'd say no more settled people.
Bear in mind, he was doing his own thing.
Yeah.
And they came over and sat down beside him. But he didn't have a problem with that. He was drinking his own pint, and that was it, like. And they were doing man. That was okay anyway. So he went down anyway. But as it was to be, the new management that took over the pub, yeah, I actually knew him. And I'll tell you how I got to know him, didn't I?
Go on.
When we go into Lourdes back in 2009, so we were going to over to Lourdes to France, yeah?
Yeah.
So we went by boat. We were actually driving, basically. We drove campers now. But anyway, on the boat, there was this Irish family. You're 19 hours on this boat to France.
So you're getting to know people.
So it's like you start making chat, like, you know what I mean? So this particular person, this man, got chatting and bumped into him then 2 or 3 times on the boat, you know what I mean? And chatting and wanting. His family was with him, but Of course, we got off the boat the far side, and he done his thing, and we went on our way. So, as it was to be, we ended up bumping into each other again in Lourdes. We were there like for whatever, a week or so. And of course, just the odd little brief chat again, okay? So you might say we got to know each other a little bit, if you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In that sense.
You're a bit more familiar with him.
Yeah, the best way of saying it, yeah. So he was going from there, then he was going on to another part of France, and we were going to a different part of France. So as it was to be then anyway, about, it could be 3 to 4 months, could be more, afterwards, wasn't I just pulling into the car park in Ballymun, yeah? And there was this man leaning across the fence, just leaning across having a cigarette, like, outside the towers, the pub, the towers.
Yeah.
So I approached him, I said, how's things? Oh, how's it going, he said. I said, what brings you over this side of town? I said, yeah. He said, I'm taking management of this pub, he said. So that's how I got to know him.
Yeah.
So now, back to the story where my father was supposed to be barred. I went down anyway, and I called for the boss, didn't I? So at the same time, I called two drinks. And he comes out, he said, lads, he said, he's barred, he said. He said, dear, to my father, right? So I said, he's not barred. He is barred, he said. I said, he's not barred. But we had this kind of rough words.
Back and forward, yeah.
Yes. I said, tell me what he's barred for. Well, there was a bit of an incident here a few weeks ago, he said, which could have been 6 or 7 weeks, whatever, I don't know. I said, yeah, what was the incident? He said he was sitting over there, he said, and there was some lads drinking with him, he said. And there was a bit of commotion, he said, and some glasses were spilt and all this stuff. Right, I said, yeah, obviously got the story wrong, I said. A glass did fall off the table, I said. The floor got wet. I said, the bouncers came over and everything was okay. And I said, he sent one of the bar staff over to clean it up. But I said, anyway, I said, more than that, I said, he's 30 years coming to this pub. And I said, he's never been barred once. And I said, he's certainly not getting barred now, I said, right? So now I was laying down the rules, wasn't I? I said, the other thing about it is, I said, he was sitting where he always sits. And I said, a group of lads come in. I said, he knows the lads. I said, he knows who they are. They're friends and relatives, I said. But I said, that wasn't his business.
Mm-hmm.
I said, they sat down beside him, I said, did you want him to get off his seat and tell him to get out of your pub? I said, what are you paying your bouncers for? I said, I'm not saying you should throw anybody out, I said.
Or move his seat to somewhere else because they came in.
Move, yeah. I said, he sits there all the time. I said, they sat down beside him, chatting, having a chat and a drink. I said, they were doing no harm. I said, he was doing no harm. But I said, your bar staff obviously told you lies. And I said, another thing as well, I said, if you're paying your bouncers to do a job, I said, why are they not doing it right? I said, he's not your bouncer, and he won't be doing your job for you, I said, as a bouncer. Now I said, 2 pints. He put his hand out and shook hands with both of us. He said, I'm really, really sorry. He said, I apologise, he said, I did hear a different story. So he said, them 2 drinks around the house.
Yep.
Yeah. And we sat down anyway, and we're having a chat, myself and my father, God rest him. And next, when he comes down again, the boss again, with 2 more pints, and put him down in front of us, sat down beside us, and next the girl or some of the staff brought down a drink, say, a glass of lemonade or something to him, and he was chatting us for about an hour.
Very good.
Honestly, it's the truth. Because he heard the right side of the story, basically. So he wasn't the one that was using let's say, the discriminative act. If you understand, he was only going by what he heard from his bar staff.
Yeah, but somebody made the decision to bar all travellers, did they?
Yeah, because he was told that he was obviously told lies. He was told that all the boys at this table were causing mischief or disturbances. Do you understand?
But what the sense I get from you is that all the travellers in St. Margaret's...
Yeah, but the thing about it is all the travellers in St. Margaret's weren't drinking in this pub.
Yeah, but the message that went back up is all the travellers are barred.
Tell them they're all barred. That's what it was. Tell them they're all barred.
So where did that decision come from?
Well, obviously it came from the boss himself.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is, he was told, like, obviously he has to trust his bar staff.
Yeah, okay. So I get it. So there was a group of lads came over to your dad. There was a bit of a whatever. Your dad wasn't involved. Those lads were involved. But then still, he made the decision.
One of them was involved. He knocked the glass off the table by mistake.
But he still made the decision. All travellers
Well, as far as he was concerned, whoever was at the table, that the 8 or 9 fellas was at that table.
Yeah, but they didn't represent all travellers in Ballymun.
No, absolutely not. So
You know
it
what I
was
mean? No matter what way you shave it,
yeah.
them 9 lads still didn't represent all the travellers in Ballymun.
No, absolutely not.
But he made that decision.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is he was humble and respectful enough when he was approached and challenged
And told the right story.
and told the right story to go, if you want to tar people all with the same brush, we'll play that game.
Yes.
And I think that's the game that we're looking to explore and expose and talk about. Because if we do that in this country, we can let's do it for all types of groups. Let's do it for black people. Let's do it for disabled
that
people.
That little story that I was telling you, yeah, there was a part of what you're saying there, a bit of a discrimination act, but also there was a lot of misunderstanding in it. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Here's an example.
Now, the chances are he might have
5 disabled people go into a pub and they sit down beside another disabled person, and one of them knocks over a glass.
Do they all get?
Does every disabled person in Ballymun then get barred from a pub?
No,
Never.
they don't.
It's never going to happen.
So it's hard to say who made that decision.
Yeah, it sounds like it came from him.
It's possible. It could have come from the bar staff.
Well, the bar staff aren't making decisions about barring all of one type of people. They're bar staff. They're young boys and girls or they're older men, but they're not bosses.
No, they're not bosses, but sometimes they have a little bit of a say. It's like the bouncers at the doors, yeah? They'll approach a bar member and ask, are you going to serve such a person or such a people? And if the bar staff person says, no, we're not, then the bouncers will take their instructions and say we're not getting served.
So but that's for an individual.
A lot of that happens.
It's not for a culture or a group or a type of person.
Not really, no.
You know, that's like saying a 4 foot nothing fella spilled over a point there. Anybody below 4 foot nothing
You're not getting
is
served
not getting
anymore.
in.
Yeah, I know it's a lot of nonsense, absolutely a lot of nonsense. But as I said earlier on, sometimes it can be down to a lot of misunderstandings also. Being told whatever. I know what you're saying, yeah, you shouldn't bar everybody. I understand that part.
But it's also too easy to, as you say,
I'm guessing
tar
that
everyone with the same brush.
Yeah, but I'm guessing at the time that the chances are what he meant was, look at everybody at that table is barred. Simple as.
Yeah.
It shouldn't still have been the case. It should not have been the case. But on the other hand, he was obviously told lies.
So I know a friend of mine used to run a bar in Cork, and he was a good mate of mine, and I said to him, the topic of travellers came up. This was about 15 years ago. And he was really nice, and we had great discussions, and I used to go down to him and he'd come up to me, and the topic of travellers came up, and he said to me, I said, would you let travellers in to your pub? And he was like, no, I wouldn't let them in. And
did he have experiences? Previous.
He did, but he just had the general blanket policies, no travellers allowed in any pub that he works in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And for me, that was him saying this, who would have been the same as him saying, if there's black people or disabled people or gay people or left-handed people, they're not getting in.
Yeah.
And for me, it just changed my relationship with him forever.
Was he a friend of yours?
He was a good friend of mine, yeah.
And again, where was he from?
From Cork. But it changed my relationship. Now, this is not me judging him. It's just me going, if anyone I knew was in a position where they were discriminating or tarring everybody from one group with the same brush, I don't think that's not the way I would do it.
Yeah.
I'm more, what's your character? Who are you? The individual.
Sort of give them the benefit of the doubt kind of thing.
Not even give them the benefit of the doubt. Have the same level of respect and tolerance for everybody.
Yeah, I understand that, yes. Could it be a case where this guy had previous experience with travellers? You didn't ask him that, no?
I think he did, but it was just like the general atmosphere in the pubs that he was working in was no travellers.
Yeah.
This was, it was just, that was the culture. The culture was no travellers. And it's, today in Ireland, it's exactly the same. It hasn't really moved on too much.
I know they brought out laws a couple of years ago for travellers' rights and stuff like that. I don't think it made any difference. I don't think it has changed at all.
I don't think it's come onto the ground where in say hotels.
No, it's on paper. It's on. That's right. Yeah, it's on paperwork, but it's not out there. It's not out on the streets, as the fellow would say.
And I know that if me and you went out into You actually told me this before. If me and you went out into a pub or a restaurant in New York City,
Yes.
we'd be treated exactly like
Equally,
every
yes.
single person. No difference, no exception,
Yeah,
no preferential treatment.
that's right.
We'd be just like, you're a customer, come on in here and spend your money.
That's right. Now again, there is some good people in Ireland. We're talking about Ireland discrimination. There is some good people in Ireland. There's no mistake about it. In the settling communities, people that have run businesses.
Yeah,
yes.
but just like that the headmaster, sometimes people are just doing things because that's the way it's always been.
yeah,
And what we're exploring here is there opportunities for us to show some of those ways or approaches up for how stupid they are.
that's right.
And if we can do that for one or two things, I think we're doing a good job.
Well, sure, that's it now, isn't it?
That's us now. That's episode 4. I really enjoyed that one. It was nice.
Yeah, sometimes our conversation flows and it gets good.
Yeah, get a bit more comfortable.
Interesting. We just don't want to be bad mouthing everybody, do we?
No, we won't tear the back off anybody. Anyway, touch on. See you later.
Well, the best luck. Take care. Bye.
One love. So that's us for this episode, a Traveller and a Countryman podcast. If you like it, let us know, share it around, and we'll see you on the road.